Good day. This is Revolt Update with the humble servant Silas Ate. Now, guys, it is common knowledge that La République du Cameroon has been under fire and pressure from the international community for quite some time now. They've been looking for different ways to whitewash their atrocities and camouflage before the international community of them making efforts to resolve the current crisis between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon, which the Paul Biya administration of French Cameroon has been carrying on the people of Ambazonia. Now, with this international pressure, Cameroon has been playing all sorts of tricks. Before, it was the school resumption campaign, which they launched for no reasons, because for 3 years, Cameroon has not shown any interest on wanting to return children back to school. But in the midst of this pressure from the international community, Cameroon sought for a way to deflect the real problem, which is the current genocide which is happening. And the international community has been calling for Cameroon to accept a dialogue without preconditions with the people of Ambazonia. So in attempts to deviate from all of this, French Cameroon created these deviations like school resumption campaigns, which when it was all debunked, now Cameroon government has moved to another phase of deflection from the real issues at stake by calling for rather a national dialogue campaign, which they are now currently trying to run. On this national dialogue campaign by Cameroon in the moment. Report update. Welcome back, guys. To better understand the dynamics of this so-called national dialogue by the president of French Cameroon, let's flash back a little bit to a few months back when the human rights organization HD, Humanitarian Dialogue, and the Swiss government declared that the Cameroon government had engaged them to mediate between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon to find ways through which the current genocide can be resolved. And this is a humanitarian organization and the Swiss government, an initiative that the international community, the EU, the UN, the United States applauded. And for a second, the world thought that Cameroon was actually ready for dialogue, and they were ready to sincerely seek solutions, despite the flaws that were associated with this Swiss initiative. Cameroon since then have not come forward to indicate that in any way they had mandated the Swiss government or the humanitarian dialogue. So that again is to begin to show you the whimsical nature of the Biya regime. For those of us from Ambazonia, we know how the Cameroon government operates. It must be recalled that the very time that Ambazonian trade unions and a consortium of civil society organizations engaged the Cameroon government for dialogue or negotiations, it failed woefully. And the Cameroon government's reaction to such laudable initiative was to arrest all the actors who were trying to seek solutions then. That was when all the Abobalas and the Tassangs were being chased all over, and the other activists and leaders were all thrown in jail, which later on, after serious condemnation, 9 months after, was Bala and the professor released. So Cameroon, it is not a practice that is new. Cameroon has actually been doing this for decades. A genocide that they themselves instituted, a genocide that is introduced by Cameroon government to solve this same genocide, instead of them just stopping the war, the genocide war that they are carrying on the people of Ambazonia. They create this smokescreen of a national dialogue. And what is interesting is what they are saying about this dialogue. They have Ambazonian leaders in the person of President Sissi Julius Tabe and his whole entourage that are held in the Cameroon maximum security prison by the same government that today is purporting to want to solve the same problem that Sissi Julius Tabe and co are being jailed for. The same people that Cameroon believe that are the actors, the main protagonists, their protagonists in this conflict. Yet they want to dialogue. This is to show you how insincere, the insincerity of the Cameroon government to any kind of solution to the problem. So Cameroon has Sissi Julius Tabe and co behind bars, and yet they are telling you that the crisis that Sissi Julius Tabe and co are fighting him against can be resolved without them. What an irony. Nobody is a fool in this situation. Everybody by now should understand that Cameroon does not want a solution to this crisis. Cameroon does not dialogue. Cameroon cannot by itself provide solution of any kind. Cameroon is currently a failed state, and no one should should be delusional in thinking that a solution can come from within Cameroon. It has been 57 years since Ambazonia and Lapuitu Cameroon are at loggerheads. If for all these years no solution has come from the power in place, there is no reason for anybody to believe that such a solution will begin today. So as Ambazonians, we are hereby just letting the world understand that we have always been for the resolution of this conflict. It is the solution. Resolving this crisis has long overdue. We are actually not encouraged by the lackadaisical attitude of the international community to engage, whether on the humanitarian side, through humanitarian assistance has not been applaudable, nor a political engagement. So we want to make it clear that Ambazonians have been looking forward to resolve this crisis the best way possible, and have been ready since from the days Tasang was engaging the Cameroon government, and only for the Cameroon government to show the bad faith. All of this crisis, Bobga and Tasang and Bala coalition would have long solved this problem, but the Cameroon government, in its nature, as being incapable of handling any crisis of any sort, proved themselves once again. So for anyone who wants lasting solution, all of these international organizations and partners and nations who are calling for a solution to this problem, we encourage you to seek resolutions that will mandate an intervention, whether it's through mediation or through some kind of UN engagement. We want that to happen. Ambazonians are ready to engage with the international community to resolve it, because we are certain that Cameroon on its own is helpless. Truly, Cameroon is helpless because they have never resolved any single crisis in their entire history. Cameroon has not resolved any problem with the Bamili case. They have never resolved the so-called Anglophone crisis for 58 years. They are not going to do it today. So, but we are by this telling our people that the solutions to our problem does not lie in Cameroon. Else, we wouldn't have been here. The solutions to the problem in Ambazonia lies with the international community, who also have a stake in all of this and bear a responsibility in why this crisis in the first place. Let's not forget that Resolution 1608, which is the basis for which we have claimed our restoration and we are defending it, is something that the international community and the United Nations bears the responsibility to. Even the union itself with La République, it's an angle that the international community bears the responsibility of the failure, and even the imposed union with La République du Cameroon, that our people were refused the third option of complete independence. So we will not back down from our campaigns. We know that our solution does not lie within Cameroon. So let me highlight a little bit the hypocrisy of this Cameroon regime. Not only are they holding the main leaders who are supposed to negotiate with them, and yet claiming that they want to dialogue, they are going around excluding every possibility of having a conversations with the real stakeholders of this conflict. The real stakeholders of this conflict is Ambazonia and nobody else. So any discussion, dialogue, national whatever, that does not take into consideration the Ambazonians, who are the main stakeholders of this conflict, has failed already. So for those of you elites, so-called, who are being brought to camouflage a dialogue with La République du Cameroon, we are warning you sincerely. This is a warning to any of you who engage in this ploy to continue the subjugation of our people will not be accepted. We are guaranteeing you that you have the national dialogue has failed already. It is just Cameroon trying to get through this moment of international visibility with the UN General Assembly that started today, to make sure that they go through this period where the international community will be focused on all the atrocities of nations. So they are hoping that by rigmaroling with the national dialogue prank, it could buy them some time to get through this. It was the same thing with the school resumption. The campaign failed and they are not gaining momentum. That is why you will see them continue to create instances to make sure that during this time that the international community has zoomed in on Cameroon, they create events that will project the Ambazonian quest for restoration as a terrorist quest. Of course, the atrocities of the Cameroon military by Paul Biya is endless. We have exposed all these atrocities time and time again. It is out there and will continue to do that. But the reality of solving this problem is one thing that the international community cannot ignore. And for all of you humanitarian organizations, nations, peace nations, you must take a stand. Time has passed to continue just to make statements. Dialogue without preconditions, inclusive dialogue, that means nothing. We want nations to take positions probably from their government and hold that we are ready to support these negotiations or dialogue, and this is how we plan to support it, and so that we are engaged with us Ambazonians to deliberate on what is workable and how we can get this done. Ambazonia is well ready, and we have been reaching out to all of you in the international community and making our case that we want to resolve this the most peaceful way possible. The only thing that will not happen with Ambazonia is backing down. We will continue to push for the right and dignity of the Ambazonian people until we get it. No Ambazonians after 57 years of enslavement and subjugation will continue to tolerate such any policy or any actions that would take us half a century back. That is not going to happen. And the international community must realize that Ambazonians are a stakeholder of their destiny, and make sure that the civilized nations, just like the Paris Peace Conference or sought to resolve a world conflict in a gentlemanly manner, regardless of the horrors of the war. We want to resolve this crisis on the table, despite the genocide that La République du Cameroon has meted on our people. It is our desire to make sure that no single life is lost. You, the international community, can step in today and begin to preserve lives, because the loss of life in Ambazonia is on your consciences as well. If world leaders could come together 100 years, 50 years ago to resolve crisis on the table, in the 20th century, the international community can do better. Ambazonia will not negotiate with La République du Cameroon under any internal basis. It must be mediated. Ambazonia is a nation, and Cameroon did not conquer Ambazonia or Southern Cameroon through war. So there must be mediation to solve this problem. Any form of national dialogue, as it is being expressed, has nothing to do with the aspirations of the people of Ambazonia. And anyone seeking to resolve this problem must do right and justice. That is the only way out. Revolt's update.